Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome to another episode of We Run the North, where this week we're going to talk about the free agency acquisitions by the teams made in the AFC North this week. A lot of action going on as far as free agency going on in the NFL in general, and specifically we'll talk about again the AFC North. Who shall we talk about first? Let's go with the Baltimore Ravens. Let's talk about the Ravens first. So the Ravens made a couple different acquisitions. One of them didn't go through. They thought they were getting Ladarius Smith back from Green Bay. He was coming back home, and he agreed to, I believe, a 4-year, $35 million contract with incentives. And then the next day, he backed out. Didn't happen. So he has yet to sign anywhere else, but he backed out on Baltimore. I think they thought they were probably getting that, him coming back to Baltimore after being going to Green Bay for a couple of years and kind of replacing Matthew Judon, who left last year to go to New England. They kind of missed that edge rusher, and they, like I said, they thought they were filling a hole on their roster and getting them back, but he decided against that. I think maybe he might have saw Von Miller's contract, and not that he's Von Miller, but I believe Von Miller got like 6 years, $120 million, and he was signing 4 years for $35 million with a few incentives. He probably thought he could do better, so he backed out. The Ravens did sign Marcus Williams, safety from the New Orleans Saints. And this guy's been good for a few years, Marcus Williams has. He's been really good. He was the guy in the Minnesota Miracle that catch Case Keenum, who got traded too. The Browns backup quarterback got traded yesterday. We'll get into that. But Case Keenum, when Case Keenum passed it to Stephon Diggs, Marcus Williams is the guy whose hands the ball went through, and Diggs got it and scored the touchdown to win that playoff game about 3 years ago, I believe, maybe 4 years ago. I think 3 years ago. So he'll get in there and start at safety. I believe they let is it Deshaun Elliott go? The other safety that was back there. So he'll probably be replacing him. Baltimore has not yet re-signed and maybe won't re-sign Calais Campbell. They're looking at a player named Michael Pierce to try and boost up the pass rush. So, those are just some different options as far as Baltimore's free agency goes. I don't think they're going to be signing back the cornerback, Marcus Peters. I don't think they're going to bring Marcus Peters back. I think they'll maybe go corner in the draft. If not, maybe O-line. It's a typical Baltimore pick. But they also signed tackle because, our ex-Steeler, Andrew Villanueva, retired. Didn't have a really good year last year. So they actually picked up Morgan Moses, former Washington Redskin, Washington football team, now Commanders football player, offensive tackle. He played with the Jets last year, and they picked him up. He'll probably step in and replace Villanueva at right tackle. Deshaun Elliott was a safety I was talking about that Marcus Williams will probably replace. Just some other Baltimore free agents. Justin Houston, they may let him go. Pernell McPhee, running back Latravius Murray and Devontae Freeman, and linebacker LJ Fort. So Baltimore has a lot of free agents that they can decide to let go or just let the market dictate their value and try and sign some of them back. But right now, the only new additions are Morgan Moses and Marcus Williams. So, Baltimore is going to have to try and pick up the fifth-year option on Lamar Jackson or try and negotiate a contract for him also. And after the signing of Deshaun Watson and a $230 guaranteed money that he's going to get, I think the quarterback market will change. I mean, Lamar Jackson might be looking for a lot of money in guarantees. Maybe not $230 million, but the biggest portion of his contract, he may be looking for that. In the live trap, just want to say hello, Kathy Fareed from sunny Kansas. Yeah, let's go Steelers. And B Dirt, what's up, B Dirt? B Dirt is a friend of my podcast, the Know It All podcast. Cincinnati Bengals fans. We're going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals here in just a minute, B Dirt. Steeler Nation, Steel Curtain, what's up, buddy? How you doing? So, that's kind of the rundown as far as the Baltimore Ravens and their free agency situation, where they stand right now and what they may be looking to do. Now let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Cincinnati Bengals, they've made Joe Burrow a happy quarterback. They picked up, word just out, breaking news is they're looking to sign Lavelle Collins, tackle from the Dallas Cowboys. Looking to sign him perhaps today. Lavelle Collins has been a Pro Bowl cornerback. Like I said, for the Dallas Cowboys, Dallas is doing a lot of cost-cutting measures, and they may cut him. Well, they couldn't facilitate a trade, so they released him, and now he may be signing with the Cincinnati Bengals. So, in addition to potentially signing Lavelle Collins, the Bengals also signed, let me just check, make sure I'm telling you the right name. They also signed Alex Kappa. He's a center from the New England Patriots. And they also signed Ted Karras, who was a guard coming from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that's one of the things the Bengals need to do was kind of beef up that O-line. You know how we remember how Burrow was sacked 9 times in the Titan game. They pulled that out. He was sacked like 7 times in the Super Bowl by Aaron Donald and the boys. So, that was kind of one of Cincinnati's shortcomings, that O-line. And it looks like they shored it up. They got some really good players up there. I'm also seeing where they may be interested in signing Stephon Gilmore, the former New England Patriot who finished out last year with the Carolina Panthers. We know Gilmore was Defensive Player of the Year a couple of years ago. He's a really, really good cornerback playing in the New England system. He's a free agent. And it's looking like he could be leaning towards signing with the Bengals. You make a Super Bowl, and you got a lot of clout as far as free agents go, and you have a quarterback like Joe Burrow. People want to come play there. Just trying to look at some of the comments in the live chat. Did the Bengals sign Hayden Hurst on a 1-year deal? Hayden Hurst that was formerly with Atlanta Falcons. That's what B Dirt is saying in the live chat. Okay. Let's see. So that's what the Bengals have going on. No other real free agency moves of note. But like I said, they did get those some of those linemen, Karras, Kappa, and tight end Hayden Hurst. It's official. I'm looking at the Bengals free agent tracker website. So some of their free agents that they have, they did re-sign their own backup quarterback, Brandon Allen, and cornerback Eli Apple. I believe they signed defensive tackle BJ Hill also. So they're trying to make some moves to stay in contention, and you better make these moves to stay in contention because the AFC North is probably next year going to be the second toughest division of football behind the AFC West. I'm still going to give the nod to the AFC West as it stands right now, but the AFC North isn't that far behind. And like I said, the Cincinnati Bengals are just trying to fill in some of the gaps where they had trouble at last year. And it looks like they did a good job with that. They should have, if they do sign Lavelle Collins, they'll have 3 new starting offensive linemen next year. That's 3/5, 60% offensive line on a team that went to the Super Bowl. I don't believe they've lost anybody of note outside of they did franchise tag Jesse Bates also. So I believe they lost one defensive lineman. I can't remember where he went. They did lose one defensive lineman and like their 5th cornerback I believe to the Raiders, Darius Williams. So now the team who's surprised us and made the biggest move in free agency, not the most moves, just the biggest moves, I would say, is the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland's free agency period started out really messy, really messy. They let Jarvis Landry go. They haven't signed Jadeveon Clowney back. They cut tight end Austin Hooper. They traded for Amari Cooper. And the Browns needed another number 1 receiver after losing Odell Beckham. But I feel like the move to get Cooper is a solid is the word, contributor. But being in the division, if they still were planning on playing Baker Mayfield at quarterback, I feel like Amari Cooper would have been less threatening than what Odell Beckham would have been at receiver. I don't know about you guys, but OBJ scared me because he always had the potential of breaking a big play anytime the ball was snapped. And Amari Cooper is a really, really good receiver, really good numbers, but he's not the game breaker that OBJ is and would have been. I guess I'm glad, that they got rid of OBJ before they got Deshaun Watson, because that would be scary. Because he would definitely know how to use OBJ. So, like I said, they traded for Deshaun Watson. Baker Mayfield wrote a Dear Abby letter to on Twitter to all the Cleveland Browns fans. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm feeling pretty bad. I gave you my all. He was, play the violin, Baker. But yeah. So, but he did that because they were heavily involved in the Deshaun Watson trying to acquire Deshaun Watson among the other teams, among Atlanta, Carolina, New Orleans, and Cleveland were the 4 players. So at the beginning of the week when this was going on, this is when Baker wrote his Dear Abby letter. It turns out Deshaun Watson and his agent let Cleveland know that they weren't in the running. It came down between, I'm pretty sure, Atlanta and New Orleans, which makes sense because geographically, he's from Atlanta. He was a ball boy for the Atlanta Falcons when he was younger. And New Orleans is close in proximity. It's in the South, and they have a really good roster, which with a strong defense, with Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas coming back healthy. They did lose their coach, Sean Payton, but Dennis Allen has been a coach before, and he's been down there and been the defensive coordinator for some years now. So, turns out Atlanta, Atlanta, nor New Orleans, excuse me, I'm sorry, uh, were willing to guarantee all the money. Cleveland, Andrew Berry, Cleveland's general manager, and Deshaun Watson and his agent had developed a semi nice relationship during the talks earlier in the week. So when neither New Orleans or Atlanta were going to guarantee the money, Cleveland came through and had a trade package that Houston would accept: 3 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and a 4th-round pick for Deshaun Watson. Doing that, Cleveland was willing to tear up Deshaun's old contract with Houston, which was for basically, I believe at the time, it was like 5 years, $150 million. I believe he was making like $35 million a year. They were willing, when he waived the no trade clause, to tear up that contract and sign a new one for 5 years, $230 million, fully guaranteed. The largest fully guaranteed amount ever in NFL history. I believe before that, the largest amount was $84 million fully guaranteed that Kirk Cousins got a few years ago. But now this is the new bar, 5-year, $230 million. Cleveland has pushed all their chips to the center of the table. And, you know, it's kind of the most important position is finding a franchise quarterback. If everything goes okay as far as the civil suit and he gets all his legal situation taken care of, he may be a great quarterback. He hasn't played in a year, so we haven't seen him in a while. And when he comes back, he'll probably have to face some type of suspension from the NFL. I'm thinking maybe 4 to 6 games. Not quite sure what that'll be. We'll see. But Deshaun Watson is a piece that can put you in instant contention. So now, among having the Baltimore Ravens with a former MVP and generally perennial playoff contender and attendee, really, actually Baltimore outside this past year, we got Cincinnati, just went to the Super Bowl. Now we got the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson. I'm surprised they didn't have to trade any players. When Russell Wilson got traded to the Denver Broncos, Denver had to send draft picks and players to Seattle. I thought that there would be some players going to Houston in this trade, but no, just 3 first-round picks, the 2nd and the 4th. You know, that can kind of set Cleveland back, but Cleveland's kind of ready to win now. I mean, they still have Myles Garrett on defense, probably the 3rd best defensive player in the NFL behind TJ Watt and Aaron Donald. You know, they got some good pieces on defense, have some good corners. Greedy Williams on one side, Denzel Ward, cornerback out of Ohio State. They have the Newsome, the kid they drafted last year in the 1st round, excuse me, from Northwestern, 1st-round pick. The kid they got, Owusu Kuamoa, the hybrid safety linebacker from Notre Dame, who would have been a 1st-round pick last year, but he was dealing with had reports of some issues with his heart at the time, so he fell to the 2nd round. Cleveland took a chance. He played really well last year. They still have that offensive line. They did let Trotter, their center, go, but they still have the other four of the 5 pieces of the offensive line. Still have Nick Chubb. Still have Kareem Hunt. They signed David Njoku. They tagged him, so he got the tight end tag. So he's a weapon. And they have the tight end Harrison Bryant. Like I said, they did let Austin Hooper go. Turns out now, so they got Deshaun Watson, they realize they need to get some weapons back. So they're trying to negotiate a deal to bring Jarvis Landry back. Maybe he'll take less money. Maybe they'll extending longer years and more money so they can, you know, get some other stuff under the cap. But they're looking to get him back, and they're looking to bring Jadeveon Clowney back. The Browns are going all in. They traded Case Keenum to the Buffalo Bills yesterday for a 7th-round pick and signed Jacoby Brissett I like that move. I like Jacoby Brissett better than Case Keenum. Um, Brissett will probably be the guy that will play quarterback for Cleveland uh, once Watson is potentially probably suspended. Hopefully, one of our two games against the Browns next year is during that time we get Jacoby Brissett one of the games and not Deshaun Watson two of the games. But like Cam Hayward said when Watson signed and was traded to the Browns, like, hey, we welcome all the smoke in the division. That's what Cam said. We don't back down and run from nobody. Just it's the AFC North, so bring it. But Watson's gonna make that a lot tougher. That's all that's all I want to say about that one. And now we can briefly talk about our free agent moves. The guys here on the BTSC network have been talking about these moves all week and stuff. So now, but we'll just briefly recap them, and I'll give you my perspective on how I feel about some of the moves. So let's talk about the new guys. The new guys. We brought in Mitch Trubisky. It's a low risk, high reward move to bring in Mitch. I wasn't necessarily a fan of it the first couple of days of free agency, but now the idea of it has kind of grown on me. And I think Mitch is probably the type of quarterback this offense needs. And especially if we weren't going to trade 3 first-round picks or trade for Jimmy Garoppolo or Carson Wentz. And I probably would take Mitch Trubisky over Carson Wentz. But Jimmy Garoppolo would have cost us a pick or two, not first-round picks, but a pick or two. And he had like that $28 million cap hit. So right there, that makes me not a fan of Mitch, because not a fan of Jimmy Garoppolo being traded here, because with Mitch and this 2-year, $14 million deal with incentives gives us a lot more money to fill in some of these other holes that we were able to fill in. So, and then, Mitch has a winning record as a quarterback, 29-21 as a starter in his time in Buffalo. Matt Nagy, the coach there, people are really saying that he didn't use Trubisky properly. He tried to force a square peg into a round hole and try and make Mitch the quarterback that he wanted to run his system, and not do what good coaching does, and that's develop a system around the strengths and skills of your players. So hopefully Mitch Trubisky and Matt Canada can get together, devise an offense that works for Mitch. I'm also thinking that there'll be a competition come camp between Trubisky, Mason Rudolph still, and Dwayne Haskins. And I feel like the odd man out, which probably won't be Mitch, but between Haskins and Rudolph, will probably be traded. I don't know, for a low round pick. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to the offense, with a lot of motion, a lot of pre-snap motion, a lot of jet sweeps, some bootlegs, some quarterback rollouts, a lot of stuff under center. For years, probably 80% of our offensive snaps, Big Ben was in the shotgun. I think it'll be a nice different look. I think it'll benefit Najee to have a quarterback that can kind of be a little mobile and roll out and move and be a threat in the RPO game. It'll benefit the passing game as well too. You run that play action, we get running good with Najee a few plays. Mitch threatens the line of scrimmage with the RPO, roll out and pass. I think we're looking for a new look offense. I expect us to maybe look something like the 49ers have looked for the past 2 years, with Mitch serving the roles as what Jimmy Garoppolo has done to get them to a Super Bowl and to an NFC Championship game. And Mitch is probably a better athlete than Jimmy Garoppolo. Elsewhere, new guys we acquired on the offensive line, James Daniels. I like James Daniels. James Daniels is one of the only free agents that that I wanted, that I was right about, that the Steelers did go acquire. He can play guard, both positions, left and right, and center. He's actually from Northeast Ohio too, just like Mitch. Shout out to Northeast Ohio. That's where I'm from. But yeah, he's from Boardman, Ohio, right outside of Youngstown. I went to Iowa. He's been in the league for 4 years, so he's experienced, and he's still young, only 24 years old. He was all Big Ten when he was at Iowa. He started a lot of games for the Bears, and I think he's a mauler. He's a nasty guy. Though in his press conference he seemed really nice, but he's a nasty guy on the football field, and I think him being at one of the guard positions will open up a lot of stuff for Najee Harris. The other acquisition was Mason Cole. Mason Cole can play guard. He's best suited at center. I'm not sure where he'll fit in yet. 3 years, $15 million. He's making money. The thing is, the other guys on Steelers offensive line, when we talk about the competition, we got Dotson, we got Kendrick Green, both of which are on rookie contracts. And even though Mason Cole was signed 3 years for $15 million, he still can potentially be a starter at center or guard or be depth. And you don't feel bad about paying that much for depth, that 3 year, $15 million, when you have Kendrick Green and Dotson competing, and they're both on rookie contracts. Dan Moore's rookie contract too. So right now, hopefully, Pat Meyer coaches the O-line up, and we get great value from this O-line for a few years. We're paying Chooks, we're paying Daniel, and we're paying Cole a little bit. But all the rest of the linemen, Dan Moore, Dotson, Kendrick Green, I believe they bring Hassenhauer back. I mean, all those guys are making a lot of money, so we can have open competition and put the best 5 on the field and feel okay about any of the only guys we know are starting, where they're starting probably, is Daniel and Chooks, because they're making big money. But everybody else is open in camp, interchangeable, and we'll see how that goes. Right now, I don't think the Steelers have given up on Kendrick Green. They spent the 3rd round pick on him. I believe he can be a talented kid. He's not quite tall enough. He needs to get a little stronger. He can do that the offseason. Word has it, we've seen that he was working out with Marquise Pouncey. Hopefully, Mr. Miyagi Pouncey is teaching Danielson, the Karate Kid reference. Danielson would be Kendrick Green, is teaching him something. And he comes back to camp this year ready to go, and we have a true competition at the position. We also brought in Levi Wallace on the defensive side of the ball. We're probably letting Joe Hayden go unless he doesn't find the market and he comes back to the Steelers for very, very cheap. But I like Levi Wallace. He played at Alabama with Minkah Fitzpatrick. He was undrafted, but he got to Buffalo, earned a position on the team, and sometime late in year 1, he was called upon to start. And he's done a really good job. He's been a solidified starter for the past couple of years now. And I believe coming to our defense, he'll be an added addition. I believe he plays zone best, so he'll be on that side, taking care of that side of the field. Or one of our own free agents we signed back was Akello Witherspoon. I like that. I like bringing him back. Akello was starting to really play at the end of the year, play like a number 1 corner. So I'm glad we have both those guys on the corners. Another new guy we brought in was Myles Jack. And you're right, Josh Parker. Myles Jack, I think, was probably the best signing, because coming out of UCLA in 2016, 2017, 2016, he was he was a monster at UCLA. he probably would have been a first-round pick. He fell to the second round. He has some issues, some questions, how when questions come up at the combine, medical questions about his knee. So teams weren't 100% sold on his health. Well, got drafted by Jacksonville, I believe, in the early second round, like pick 36 or something like that, I believe. And he's been there for his whole career. But Myles Jack hasn't missed many games due to injury. He's had the best ability, which is availability, since he's been in the NFL. Coming out, he was a great linebacker. He's a running hit linebacker, gets to the ball. He forces fumbles and causes turnovers, gets interceptions. He's just all over the field. And I can't wait to see him paired with hopefully a rejuvenated, healthy Devin Bush coming back for his second year off his ACL injury. That paired with the new defensive coordinator, Terrell Austin, and the input from Mike Tomlin as per usual, and the input from Brian Flores, I think this defense is going to be something to be reckoned with. Alex Highsmith coming back on getting his third year jump. TJ Watt coming back healthy off of Defensive Player of the Year. Hopefully we get Tuitt back. Cam Hayward, Tyson Alua. And, I like the re-signing of Montravius Adams. I thought he played really good at the end of the year last year. So I like that re-signing. And, coming back with Loudermilk. And maybe we draft D-line early just to get some youth in the room. We did lose, back to offense, we did lose 3 of our receivers. We lost JuJu. JuJu will be missed. I mean, JuJu was, production-wise, the past few years, wasn't necessarily the best receiver, the best Steeler, but JuJu was cut from Steeler cloth. I mean, he had his things with social media and the dancing and TikTok and all that stuff. But JuJu was cut from Steeler cloth, and I think we'll miss JuJu just from a mindset and mentality kind of perception in the room, the wide receiver room. James Washington is going. James Washington signed with the Dallas Cowboys. JuJu signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. Said he's going to play with Patrick Mahomes. And we got Ray McCloud, who's going to San Francisco. And Ray got a 2-year, $3.5 million year that could be up worth to $10 million with incentives. I think Ray, we were waiting to see what the market was going to do for him, and San Francisco overpaid for him. But I say they overpaid for him because in comparison to how we use Ray, which is mostly as a returner, he did get a lot of reps at receiver at the end of the year. When the receiver room was short and JuJu was hurt, and guys were in and out. But I think Kyle Shanahan is going to use Ray a lot more in that offensive scheme that they use there than we did in Pittsburgh, which that's where his incentives will come in to where he can make up to that $10 million, with incentives, that contract. Have I missed anybody else that we signed? We signed Trubisky, Daniels, Mason Cole. Oh, the kick returner, Olszewski from New England. Not too familiar on him. It sounds like a good signing. He was a Pro Bowl kick returner in 2020. I mean, so he'll come in and step right in for JuJu. I don't think he plays a lot of receivers. I looked him up. Looked like he had about 9 or 10 career receptions. But if he gives a boost to that special team and can run punts and kicks back, we're looking good with that signing as well. We still need a strong safety, and we probably need to get a veteran wide receiver. So we'll see what this week brings in regards to the rest of the free agency. A lot of talk about Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. I'd love to see him come and have him and Minka paired together. That would be nice, but that would be costly. Honey Badger's going to cost a little bit of money. I would also be okay with bringing Edmonds back. I like Terrell Edmonds. He's solid. He's not going to give you all the splash plays, not going to, you know, force a whole lot of fumbles or make a whole lot of interceptions, but he's going to play solid. He's going to match up well with some of the tight ends, and he's a solid tackler. So and him and Minka have played together for 3 years now. So you get that continuity and that rapport that they already have continuing on. So I wouldn't mind seeing Edmonds back. I would love to see Honey Badger, and I would even be okay with Jabril Peppers. He's still available. Played early for the Cleveland Browns, got traded to the Giants in the Odell Beckham trade, been there for a few years, was All-American in Maryland. Him and Mika Fitzpatrick were rivals in high school football together in New Jersey. Jabril Peppers was the man. He's a year older than Minka. Then Minka came along and Minka was the man. So I wouldn't mind seeing those two paired together also. I think that could be a good pairing. Jabril Peppers is really good in the box, can come up to the line of scrimmage, still has 4.4 speed. He could be a good addition. So, and far as receivers go, veteran receivers that are potentially available. If we wanted to go more of a slot guy, we're gonna get Jamison Crowder. He's available, playing for New York Jets. I wouldn't mind getting trying to see what Julio wants or AJ Green wants. I mean, 5 years ago, those guys were best receivers in the league, and they come to us and wouldn't have to do a lot as far as production on the field. I mean, they command a certain amount of respect and have a certain amount of gravitas on the field, and the defenses have to respect them, but they wouldn't be asked to do a lot but mentor the room. I mean, if you get a guy like AJ Green or a guy like Julio Jones in the same wide receiver room with Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool and whoever we draft, I got a feeling we might go wide receiver first round if one of those really good wide receivers are available. But if you get one of those veterans like that who's been around a while and who's been at the top of the game, at the pinnacle of the game, I think there's a lot of value in that. So we'll see how that goes. So that's kind of what's going on in free agency in the AFC North. So now for just a couple of minutes, I'll check out the live chat and try and answer a couple of questions, and then we'll get on out of here. Thanks for joining us on Behind the Steel Curtain in this episode of We Run the North. If you like the content, like and subscribe on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and we'll go from there. My name is Kevin Tate. I'm a guest contributor. I'm from the Know It All podcast. I do my own podcast every Sunday evening, probably shortly after this one today, about 6:30, live on YouTube. Check us out if you can. But right now, to the live chat, see if we can't take a couple comments, answer a couple questions. Michael O'Malley, JuJu's career is over. You think so? I don't think JuJu will ever reach what he did his first and second year in Pittsburgh. He's a lot of injuries, getting that knee drained every week. He's just not that guy. And, I took up for JuJu more than anybody when AB first left. At the time, I was saying there's no reason, and this is what retrospect does. I can look back and, see how foolish I sound. I said to people at the time, 3 years ago, mind you, there's no reason JuJu can't be like Keenan Allen. Wow. I said that. Can't believe I said that. JuJu is nothing close to Keenan Allen. But again, at the time, I think he'll find a role in that Kansas City offense. I mean, granted, he'll definitely not be getting the targets that Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce gets. But I believe they lost Byron Pringle. And, I think JuJu is a nice physical slot option. He'll give them at least up to, not that he gave a lot, but what Sammy Watkins gave him a few years ago. At the time, I think Sammy Watkins was making like $16 million a year. JuJu was making $10 million. So in comparison, that's a bargain. But we'll see what JuJu does. Yeah, Steel Curtains, right? JuJu's only like 25. Michael O'Malley said, I never said JuJu. Did I misread something? Oh, Julio. My bad. I thought you said JuJu. These glasses. But yeah, Julio, Julio could be done. Julio could retire. But if Julio comes back is healthy, if Julio's healthy, his hamstring gets back to 100%, like I said, the production would have to be a lot. I just think Julio has something to contribute to give back to the game, man, to kind of just pass some of the tips and techniques and training methods of being an all pro to some of these younger guys. I mean, they haven't had that in the room. I mean, our guys have always been young. JuJu at 24 was the veteran the whole time that Claypool's been there, that Deontay's been there. James Washington is gone now. I feel like he was never given a real chance, and I think he'll probably fit in real good in Dallas, playing third fiddle to Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. But yeah, just my personal opinion. I think if Julio's healthy, he could give something, and it might not be in production on the field. It may just be in what he can give back to the game. Looking at some of these other comments. Right, Brian Brown says there are so many receivers in the draft. Steelers just saving money. I think so too. Yeah, I wouldn't assign JuJu for $10 million. And if we could get a receiver like Chris Olave, Drake London, I like the bigger receivers. I know Jahan Dotson from Penn State is really good. He's smaller. If I was picking between the smaller receivers, that would be Dotson and Chris Olave. I'd probably go Chris Olave. But they both were all Big Ten receivers. So wow. Michael, my JuJu is a stud, period. Okay. Steel Curtin, another number 10 quarterback in Pittsburgh, reminds me of Cordell Stewart. I don't think Mitch has the speed that Slash does, but I think Mitch is probably a better passer than what Cordell Stewart was. And keep in mind, Cordell Stewart took us to an AFC championship. I mean, he was a winning quarterback in Pittsburgh. G-Boy, Helen Burke, Traylon Burke. I like Traylon Burke. I think with him from Arkansas, they said he could be a Deebo Samuel type, but he tested slow. I believe he ran like a 4.5. He's a big body, and I like that. He probably would be good in the slot, but he doesn't bring that explosiveness that I think the offense is looking for. But he's definitely a good receiver and a good offensive piece to just put on the field. Pickens. I like Pickens from Georgia too. Pickens was dealing with a lot of injuries the past couple of years, but it's early in his career, he was on pace to be a first-round receiver, perhaps the best receiver. But we'll see. The draft is coming up in about 6 weeks. All these pro days are going on right now. Tomlin and Colbert and the guys were at Georgia's pro day. Obviously, everybody was at Georgia's pro day. And Clemson's pro day was last week. This week coming up, I believe Wednesday is Ohio State's pro day. So we'll be there. And we'll see what shakes out from that. Ohio State has some other players that nobody's talking about. I know because I'm an Ohio State fan. I like the defensive lineman, Haskell Garrett. He's a good defensive lineman. Puts me in mind of Montravius Adams. He probably be gotten in like the 4th or 5th round. Really, really, really good defensive lineman. Defensive lineman. They also have some offensive linemen. So, check out Ohio State Pro Day this week. I believe it's on Wednesday. It'll probably be on NFL Network. So check that out, and we'll learn some more about some of these players. But I'm going to get ready to get out of here. Will Robinson, DeBose. I don't disagree with you. I wouldn't mind bringing in Jarvis Landry. I think he'd be a good veteran, play a good slot, and could be a piece in Matt Cannon's offense. But like I said, Cleveland's trying to get him back. I think Jarvis really liked Cleveland. They'll probably like Cleveland even more because Deshaun Watson's the quarterback and not Baker Mayfield. So, but we'll see how those things go. So, but right now I'm at the 45-minute mark. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And like I said, like, subscribe to Behind the Steel Curtain. A lot of you probably already are. I know I am. I watch the guys all the time when I'm not here contributing as a guest. But yeah, so you guys, let's go Steeler Nation, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.